Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's KETIV Autodesk Virtual Academy session. I'm Nigel Mbayak, one of the application engineers here at KETIV Technologies and also part of the Lifeline support team. To my left, we have Javier Chavez, who is an 11-year veteran of the KETIV team, as well as Jose Paredes, who is another application engineer, and he will be actually the one doing the presentation today. So just a little bit about Jose. Jose graduated with a BS in Mechanical Engineering from Rochester Institute of Technology in New York. And before working at KETIV, he worked in the medical device industry.
Thanks, Nigel. Yeah, like you said, I came from industry before I came to KETIV. And one of the things that I had to get used to when I got to KETIV is going from working on one project over 6 months to working on 6 cases over 2 days. But that's just something that we here at KETIV and in the Lifeline team do to keep our customers up and running. So with that, let's go ahead and into the presentation. So the first question we get from our customers is why even upgrade to 2017? We get questions or concerns from our customers as to what it'll take to implement the 2017 software. But the other side to those questions or concerns is the benefits that come with implementing. We here at the Lifeline team think that these benefits fall into 3 main areas, which are all affected by customer input. Autodesk receives concerns or requests, and they try to incorporate that into their software. The first area we can talk about is new functionality. And this is where Autodesk takes your feedback, your requests, and creates a new feature and adds it to their existing software. For this example, we can go to Inventor. With Inventor 2017, there came a new feature called Component Transparency. And with Component Transparency, you can change the opacity of a part and work with the components that are behind it. This is one of the most wanted features for Inventor that was finally made a reality. You no longer have to suppress a part or do a section view to work with the parts that you want to. This saves time and increases your functionality in the program. The next area we can talk about is refinement and improvement. This is where Autodesk takes the feedback, again, and incorporates it into an existing feature. For this one, we can talk about AutoCAD. With AutoCAD 2017, you now have a designated import PDF functionality. And this is an improvement, whereas before you would need to change the type of file that you're importing and then import it into your drawing. But with this PDF import tool, you can now directly import the PDF and underlay it into whatever drawing you want to. This can now serve as a visual reference to keep in mind what you're trying to do with your drawing. And the last area we can talk about is performance and usability. And this is where the software adapts with the emergent technology that we have all around us. And this one's actually a big one, because one of the biggest adaptations that the software has had to make is adapt with Windows 10. With our customers buying PCs recently, the operating system that comes with it is usually Windows 10 now. And we've had questions in the past from our customers asking us about 2016 products and if they worked with Windows 10s and if they were supported. The question is yes and no. With Inventor and AutoCAD, we were able to get them up and running with Windows 10 as long as we installed the service pack. But now with the 2017 products that are released, they are all officially supported on Windows 10. We've seen the benefits, but let's look at what we need to do in order to be prepared. One of the biggest things we need to look at before upgrading our software from 2016 or before to the 2017 products, or even just installing our 2017 products straight off, would be the system requirements that we need to look at. If you look at a software, say Inventor 2017, there are certain recommended specs on your computer that Autodesk recommends in order to have the software run smoothly. The reason I mentioned 2016 is because even though you were able to run 2016 Inventor on your computer, when you upgrade to 2017, the specs changed due to the increased functionality in 2017. So it's something we should look into before we actually implement our software. The next one is antivirus software. So on our computers, we have antivirus software, and it's meant to help our computer. But in the cases of Autodesk products, we sometimes leave it on while we download or install our products, and it'll end up corrupting our files or messing with our installation, giving us a faulty one. So for this one, we recommend to our customers that you actually temporarily turn off your antivirus software while you download and install them, just to make sure that we get a clean install.
You know, just to add to that, even if you're, you know, historically you haven't had trouble with antivirus software, sometimes you don't realize it, but it's slowing the install process down. And if you were to check the antivirus, you know, as you're installing, you could see that it's scanning every little file it's trying to install. And you might be wondering, why does it take 3 hours to install, you know, Product Design Suite? Sometimes that's the case. Suddenly you turn it off, and you know it drops that time significantly. So even if you aren't necessarily experiencing troubles where it won't let you install, it might just reduce the install time, and that's, you know, half the pain. So.
Yeah. Thanks, Javier. Yeah, that's completely right. In some cases, some people are hesitant because they've been known to take long times with the installation, but by turning it off, it can speed up the process. The last thing we can look at to be prepared is the license file that you're going to need. Customers with multi-user licenses host their license on a separate server, which then distributes the license and controls who can use what license, as well as how many licenses can be distributed. We'll actually go over how to create a 2017 license today. Now, even if we're prepared to implement our software, it's not always the right time. In most cases, you need to put some planning into it. Whether you're a small company, a big company, or even a single user, you need to find the right time to implement your software. Finish up old projects on 2016, and then start new ones on 2017. KETIV is here to help you with that process, to help you plan the right way to do it, and maintain the efficiency while you're doing your implementation.
And sorry to interrupt you, Jose, but a question just came in, and I felt like it's pretty important to cover this right now. And Joe asks, what if I'm using Vault? How does that affect my upgrade process with my other software? Javier?
Yeah, so I could cover that question. So real quick, I mean, if you're using Vault, there's some extra considerations. I mean, all your data is on this server. It's engineering data. We got multiple versions, and sometimes, you know, that spans 10, 20, 15 years. So you want to be careful with it. First things first, you know, I'll repeat what Jose said is make sure that if you're going to upgrade Vault, make sure it's compatible. And when there's a note that says, or when you see something about the SQL Server compatibility with 2014, you know, I'll get customers who ask and say, well, I'm going to install, you know, SQL 2014 SP1. If SP1, Service Pack 1, doesn't show up as something supported, find a way to get the version without Service Pack 1. It's not supported. So little things like that sometimes make a huge difference. And we go back with customers and troubleshoot, and we find out, oh, Service Pack 1's not supported. So the next thing is to, you know, back up your data. Make sure you got a good backup. If for some reason your backups are failing, that's an indicator that you need to hold off for a second, figure out why it's failing, and fix that first. So, you know, fix any issues with that. And ideally, not everybody can do this, but you can test your backup on another server. Not everybody can do that, you know, get another server or have access to another server or a test station, and test the backup and see how it migrates, right? When you're ready, you know, you can do the actual migration on the real server. And just to note, you know, if you're upgrading both your CAD tools and Vault, okay, there's an order that you want to maintain here. If you upgrade your CAD tools first, you will not be able to access Vault. So if you're using Inventor 2017 and you're trying to access data on a Vault 2016 server, that doesn't work. You're going to be disappointed, right? No problem going the other way around. If you upgrade your Vault first to 2017, it will allow one release back to access the Vault. Okay, so we've had a couple customers be disappointed when that's the case. Just make sure that either you upgrade both at the same time or upgrade the Vault first, and that's coming really handy because when we do this as a service, we've been able to upgrade the Vault seamlessly without users knowing, right? And they still access it in 2016 or the previous version that we're installing without even knowing they're accessing a newer Vault. So just something to consider there.
Yeah, and like Hav mentioned, there is a right way to do it, and there's actually a document that Autodesk has released on how to go through that test migration. So for more information, go ahead and contact the Lifeline team, and we can help you out with that. But now we can move on to the demonstration and actually obtaining our software. Now, whether you're a new customer or an older customer that has been with us for a while, you can always access your software in the same place, and that's the account portal. In the account portal, the contract managers and the software coordinators for the company will be able to access the software, serial numbers, and generate license files for the products that they own. Now, if you are a new customer, you will receive an email that will give you a link to this account portal. But if you're an older customer or you never received that email, which in some cases happens, you can always access it by going to the manage.autodesk.com website. Once you browse to this website, it will take you to a sign-in screen. Here, it will show you where you can input your password and your email, which you gave Autodesk when creating that account. In some cases, for new users or older users, you misplaced or forgot your password. If that's the case, we can go ahead and use this forgot functionality here and reset our password. But once we go inside and sign in, you will see a list of software that is available to you. All the software that you've purchased will show up here, as well as the ability to download them. But before we go into that, let's go edit the people that will eventually use this software. So if we navigate to the Users tab, we can see the list of users that we have here at KETIV. We can see the software that's available to me, but we can also edit the software that's available to me. It will bring up a list of all the software that I have available to me, and we can scroll down, in this case, to AutoCAD LT. As you can see, there's 31 seats available to assign to our users. So if we go ahead and assign it to me, it brings it down to 30 seats, and we can go ahead and save it. After the access is edited, it will actually send me personally an email saying that my access has changed and I will be able to use this software now. So now we can go back to the Products and Services tab. Like I mentioned before, this software will only show up if you are the contract manager or the software coordinator for your company. Here we can scroll down to AutoCAD LT, and we can go ahead and use this downloads link here. Here it gives us the option to download AutoCAD LT or AutoCAD LT for Mac. In KETIV's case, we use AutoCAD LT for Windows, and we use the 64-bit option. Here we can explore our options for download. It gives us the download now option as well as the browser download option. Browser download option is the one we recommend to our customers. I know it says slowest, but it's the one that we recommend because it downloads the software to your computer first and then installs it, as opposed to download and install it all at the same time.
So a quick benefit to that, just so you guys know, I mean, if you have more than one installation, if you have 10 installations to do because you have other users, instead of going to everybody's machine and using the other option, the download now, right, which doesn't leave a copy behind, you'd have to repeat that process 10 times. If you use browser download, you get a raw set of installation files that you can put on a hard drive, store on a network, and use the one download to basically install on 10, 20, 30 different stations at once. So just another side benefit there.
Yeah, it's one of the questions that comes to us on the Lifeline team when a customer asks us, can we put this on a flash drive and just take it to our stations? And then the answer is yes with the browser download. So once we start this download, it'll actually transfer over to your downloads folder. And here, you will see that I have already downloaded this AutoCAD LT file, which is an extractor file. Once you double-click this file, it will start transferring the files into your C drive and your Autodesk folder. So we can go ahead and navigate there, since I extracted it earlier. And we can see the AutoCAD LT 2017 folder here. Now, when the first time that you extract it, it'll actually start your setup automatically. But in this case, I have to start it manually. Go ahead and give it permission to do so. And it'll start loading our installer. Here we can have different options. Create a deployment that you want to send out to your employees. Install some of the tools or utilities that come with this AutoCAD LT, or in some cases with the design suites that you purchase. Or we can go ahead and install our software.
Just another thing in regards to the download from your account portal. A lot of the downloads are more than one part, especially the suites and some of the larger programs. You want to make sure that you download all of those parts. If your antivirus is on or you have ad block on your computer, it will likely stop every section of that besides the first one. And that's something we run into a lot in regards to support.
Or, like Nigel said, in some cases, it's actually the other way around. You'll see multiple parts, but then you'll notice afterwards that one of them is missing. And in most cases, the reason is the pop-up blocker. So once we go ahead and install or try to install our software, we read the license and services agreement, accept it, and it'll take us to a page that lists the software that we're able to install. In this case, it's only AutoCAD LT 2017. But in design suite cases, it'll show you all the software that's available, and you are able to check whether or not you want to install it or not. In some cases, there's some software that you don't want to work with, so you go ahead and not install it. So now you can actually go ahead and run the install. I'm not going to do so in this case because it sometimes does take a while to install, but I'll go ahead and show you how to activate it once it is done. So we go back to our presentation. And once it is done installing, you will have to activate it. In the case of desktop subscriptions, all you will need is a serial number and a product key, all of which, like I mentioned before, are available in the account portal. All you have to do is expand your program, the software that you want to activate, and then see the version that you're installing. In this case, it's version 2017, and it'll give me the serial number as well as the product key. Once we have that and the software is installed, once we run it for the first time, it will ask us to enter a serial number or use the network license.
So I'm going to stop right here and just kind of interrupt you for a second. Guys, this is different. You're going to probably click through all the dialog box, and you're going to think to yourself, hey, I never entered a serial number. That happened to me. I never entered a serial number. I talked to one of these guys. Yeah, you do it at the end. You do it after the install, and you start to run the software. The beauty of this is, in the past, we've had people go through trials, right, a 30-day trial, and, they go through this 30-day standalone trial, and at the end of it, they say, yes, okay, we're going to go ahead and order, a few licenses, go with this tool, and they end up buying a network license. And historically, what that means is I have to completely uninstall and change my standalone license to a network license, and of course that takes a few more hours or whatever. In this case, once you're done with a trial, if you decide to look at a trial, then you enter either the standalone, serial number or use a network license. So it makes it easier to work with trials.
Yeah. Javier has a point. In the past, there is the option. You did have the option of choosing using a standalone or a network license. And in some cases, our customers had some confusion with that as to what that did. And if they chose the wrong one, they would have to install it completely from scratch. But in this case, if we choose enter a serial number for our desktop subscription, you will be able to input that serial number and that product key, and then go ahead and activate it. It will ask you to log in with your Autodesk account, which in this case would be the end user that we assigned earlier. So in this case, it would be me. Now we move on to the other option, which is the network license that Javier was talking about. This one takes a little bit more preparation than the desktop subscription would, and that's because we now are dealing with a server on the side that is going to host our license. So the first thing we need to do with that server is have the latest version of LM tools installed on that server. And this one's a big one because a lot of the questions we got when 2017 first came out was that their 2016 versions were working fine once they upgraded their license file, but their 2017 products wouldn't obtain a license. And that's because the LM tools on their server was not updated to the latest version. Once we have LM tools installed on our server, we can actually look at it, which I have on my screen here, and we can get the system settings that we will need in the future. In this case, we have the server name, which is my computer, and then we have the server ID here. For the server ID, you can choose either or and use it to generate your license. So it's broken up into two parts because there's two ways to access the server or the computer, and either or will work. One of them is an Ethernet connection, the other one is the wireless connection. Once we have that, we can actually go back here to our account portal. And if you scroll up, you will actually see the generate a network license file. If we go ahead and click on that, it'll ask us to define the server model that we're going to use. In this case, we're going to go with a single server. And that's the option that most companies use when hosting their network license. And that's because it holds all of their seats of their software in one place and distributes it to the necessary people. So if we go ahead and select that single server, and here's where we can use that server name and server ID we just obtained from our LM tools. Once we have those input, we can actually select the products that we want on this license file. And in this case, we see the example of 3ds Max and Alias Auto Studio 2016. Here, in this drop-down menu, you can actually scroll down the software that you can add, or you can search the name or the serial number and select those products. Once you have them selected, you can go ahead and press this button and add selected. It will bring us back to this menu, but instead of an empty list here, you will see the software that you added. Once you have everything you need, the server name, the server ID, and the software you want to add, you can go ahead and obtain this license file. Once you click that button, Autodesk will generate a license file for you and then show it to you. Here we can see the multiple options we have of obtaining our license file that we need. We can copy the license text onto our clipboard and then import it into a text document. We can save it as a text document as it is, or we can even email it to the necessary people. In some cases, that's the IT department or whoever's in charge of the server that hosts the license.
And I'm just going to jump in here really quick. For those of you not necessarily using 2017, if you have some people using 17 and some people possibly using some earlier versions, these license files do cascade, so they do cover whatever version you're activating and the 3 prior versions if you're on current subscription. So, and that is if the product was available for those particular years. So there's no need to be worried about, you know, generating this new license file and having your older software not work.
Yeah. So, So like Nigel said, if you're debating whether or not you still want to migrate yet, that license file will still work with your current software. So you don't have to worry about that. So once we send it to the appropriate people, You can add their email addresses here and then send and close, which will allow you to incorporate your license file onto the server and have it up and running. For more information as to how to actually apply your license to your LM tools and make sure that everything is up and running and it's distributing the correct amount of licenses, go ahead and give the KETIV Lifeline team a call, and we'll make sure and walk you through exactly how we should do that. But once we have everything set up, our server's up and running, it's distributing the licenses as it should, we download and install the software like we did our desktop subscription. But in this case, instead of entering the serial number and product key, we use the user network license file. Once you get there, it will actually ask you to input the server name, which we have from our LM tools, and ask you to finish up that process. Once you input that server name and finish up the process, it will actually look for a license file and activate your software, and you'll be up and running to use it again. Now, one of the most common mistakes or issues that come up when accessing a license file on a server is that a firewall will stop you from getting it. And we get a lot of calls sometimes where it's set up perfectly fine, we help them set it up, and then they can't obtain a license file. So the first thing we check is to make sure that the firewall is off and everything is able to communicate fine. So if that is a problem that you're having, go ahead and check that out. But if there's other problems, your firewall is off and it's still not working, go ahead and give KETIV Lifeline a call, and we'll be able to help you get back up and running. Now we can go over what we went over today. The first thing we went over is why upgrade. We went over the benefits that you are getting with upgrading your software to 2017 and all the functionalities that you have that were improved and the way it works better with your PC. The next thing we went over is preparation. Javier went over the things you should look out for if you're using a Vault. We went over the specs on your computer to make sure that they're working smoothly with the software. And we went over generating and having a new license file before you install. And the last point we went over is the account portal. The account portal is your one-stop shop for serial numbers, network licenses, and the product that you actually need to download. So with that, you should be able to access everything in order to implement your Vault. Now we can go to our recommended steps. The first one is go out and try it. If you haven't already implemented your 2017 products, or if you're having trouble and we address one of your problems, go ahead and try to fix it. And if you're still having problems or the solution didn't work, go ahead and give us a call. We'll be here to get you up and running and have your 2017 software implemented. That's it for my presentation today, but we're going to go ahead and move over to a Q&A session that Nigel's going to head.
So the first question came in from Ursula, who actually says, "Hi, Jose. I guess you've been working on a case with her.
Yeah.
Regarding Windows 10, have we seen any issues with upgrading to Windows 10 after Autodesk 2017 products are installed? Or would you recommend upgrading to Windows 10 before you install your 2017 software?"
Well, since 2017 is supported on Windows 10, there should be no problem with upgrading your operating system after you installed it. But in some cases, people feel a lot safer with installing it cleanly after you upgrade your operating system. So it's really a personal preference, but you should have no problems with either.
I'd have to, just interject where I haven't had any experience upgrading the OS to Windows 10 while there's, some of the software installed. But I have to be in that camp where you do a clean install, right? Upgrade it first and then install the 2017 software. We've seen this in the past, with Vista, with Windows 7. It seems to just work a lot smoother most of the time, and you just have a better chance of successfully, making that migration if you do a clean install of your OS and then upgrade your software.
Yeah,
definitely. And then another question comes from Gary DeSantis from Solar Turbines, and he asks if this PowerPoint's available to you. We can most certainly send you this PowerPoint presentation, but if you want to watch this presentation over again, We'll have it up on our YouTube channel either today or tomorrow. And if you need that link, feel free to ask it in the survey afterwards, or just search KETIV Technologies on YouTube. You should be able to find us. And Ursula asked another question, actually. For emailing the license file, is that only for records, or if by emailing it, can I use it on another computer that's not attached to the network?
So I think what you mean, I know what you're trying to ask, but the license file is meant just for the server that you're hosting it on. So the functionality of emailing it is, in some cases, the people that are using the software aren't in charge of the server. So they can't access it, they can't actually obtain go into LM tools. So
yeah, they don't have the access to the server to actually install it themselves. So maybe they email it to the IT manager who does have access and let them actually log into the server and implement that license.
Yeah. So it saves you a step of downloading it and then having to attach it to an email and send it to your IT manager.
Definitely. And another thing with the LM tools, I don't know if you covered this, Jose, but for the 2017 license files, to be able to read a license file with 2017 software on it, you need a new version of LM tools.
Yeah.
And that version's 11.13. That came out in like February. So if you did download your LM tools before that, you're gonna have to install the new version in order to get your license manager to read your 2017 software.
And it is included with the 2017 software. If you go to the that first dialog box where you install or create deployments, the other one's install tools and utilities, and it's there. So no download required unless you really just want to download an extra file, but it's there and it's ready to go.
Yeah, yeah, and it speaks to the problem I mentioned earlier, where some customers were having a problem with their 2017 products not obtaining a license, but their 2016 products were able to grab one. And that usually was fixed when they updated their LM tools.
Definitely. Bert asks, some of the programs that were listed at 2016, like 3ds Max, are programs like Showcase updated 2017. I think he's asking if there's the 2016 products that we're showing, if those products were updated to 2017. I don't know for sure. I have to look into that for you, Bert.
Yeah, so it's a good question. I mean, basically, the easy way to find this out is to log into your account. If 2017 is there, it's there, right? That's the easy, way to find out. Some products, sometimes will skip a release. We've seen, I think, one of the products, I can't remember the name, but it did skip a release. It was like 2014, and then it jumped to 2016 or something like that. And for whatever reason, Autodesk didn't put out a release. So it's hard to tell which ones will and which ones won't, at the moment. But I don't know that all the products are released. Do you guys know that?
I am not 100% sure.
I know.
Yeah.
I know that all of the product design suite products have been released.
Okay, so I think that kind of answers it. If all the product is all the design suite products are out there, you're pretty much set to go. Yeah, and if there is no 2016 that shows up, it's not available, or 2017.
Let's see. We got a couple more questions. This one comes from Mike. Will all plotter and printer settings migrate from AutoCAD 2015? There is a new migration tool for AutoCAD. We went over it last week in the What's New in AutoCAD 2017 webinar. If you didn't catch that, you can find that on our YouTube channel. I am not sure if that migrates plotter and printer settings. I'd have to look, but
it depends on the settings. But if you have some unique to AutoCAD, where you have these special files that AutoCAD creates for plotter configuration files, it can migrate those. If it's anything local to the plotter itself, it should stay on the plotter. It should be okay. But yeah, if you created plot configuration files or CTB files or anything like that, that tool, that migration utility that pops up when you launch a new version of AutoCAD, should be able to help you migrate those.
And if you do have questions about migration, next week Daniel Huang is going to be doing our Autodesk Virtual Academy session, and that's going to be all about migrating your stuff from previous versions to 2017, whether it be an Inventor, whether it be AutoCAD, probably some Vault migration stuff as well. And we have one more question from Vincent. Or actually, we have a couple of questions from Vincent. We had issues with custom material and appearance settings with previous migration and installation. And will there be a tool to bring custom settings over to the new version during migration and the installation process?
And I'm assuming that's for Inventor. I don't know if it said that.
Yeah, I would assume so if it's materials. Vince, if you could just type if it's an Inventor or AutoCAD.
So just assuming it's an Inventor, there's no migration tool per se that just helps you migrate those files, but they really haven't changed that much. So for the most part, you could still point to those material libraries and point Inventor to that. And they should work if you're just going from 2016 to 2017. It's typically when you go, make a big jump from like 2010 to 2017. If you try to point it to the same libraries, they either don't work or you have some problems. And what I would do, if you are doing that, is look up, migrating styles or migration in the help files, and it should give you some help, some tips on that, and obviously we can help with that as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's it for the questions. If you do think of any more, go ahead and type those in the after webinar survey that you'll be receiving, and we'll definitely get back to you as soon as possible in regards to those.
Nigel, I have some feedback on a couple of the questions.
Yes, Nicole.
Showcase 2017 is available on the site, so that should be up and running. And also, as far as the migration of the styles, we have seen some challenges with that. So there are some new knowledge base tips available regarding migration. So make sure and reach out to our Lifeline team, and they can share those with you and help you with any problems that you have. That's all.
Thank you, Nicole. So yeah, tune in next week for our migration AVA. We'll go over everything you need to know. Tips and tricks kind of how to move your stuff over and make sure it all moves over smoothly. If you want to stay connected, go ahead and follow us on all these social networks as well as the KETIV blog. We do post things on a daily basis, some of them related to things not necessarily AVA, and definitely some other cool things in the industry. So I'd like to thank Jose for doing our presentation, Javier for being here as well, and Nicole too. So hope to see you guys next week from all of us here at the KETIV Lifeline team. We'd like to thank you for coming. We'll see you next week. And stay classy, San Diego.
Thank you.
Thank you.